I hope that you are feeling well. Today we are studying about the age of industrialization. In the previous class we discussed about what are the circumstances that leads to industrialization and how England become an industrialized country. What are the reasons behind that we discussed in our previous class. Today we are discussing about how the Europeans they came to India and they monopolized the trade of India. The Europeans, you know that all the Europeans they came to India only for making trade relations with India. Why the Europeans they came to India? Not only India, Asiatic countries, these Europeans they came for these countries, Asiatic countries like India, to make trade relations. First and foremost their aim was only trade. They did not change the idea other than the trade. But later on things goes on changing. First they came to India, they make a trade relations with the Indian states, and later on they got permission from many kings. Later on they monopolized the trade. What is monopoly or monopolizing the trade? They control the entire trade in India. They controlled the trade. How they control the trade? They control the trade through their policies. Different mercantile policy. That is mercantile policy. As per the mercantile policy, only from the Britishers only the trade will be there will be only connection through the Britishers only. Other peoples will be excluded, like Portuguese, Dutch, French. They will be excluded. For that Britishers they decided the policy of mercantile policy. You have learned earlier. So Britishers their policy was that to make trade relations with India and to monopolize the trade of India. So that they monopolize. First they came to India only for trade. Then they monopolized the trade. Our trade was totally monopolized. That was totally controlled. Later on, you know that the local merchants. The local merchants who controlled the trade in early times, local merchants they engaged trade relations with many European countries. These local merchants, their power and prestige increased. They were influential in the society. Moreover, they make trade relations with many European countries. So that what happens, all the European countries, they depend these local merchants. Their power, their prestige, that automatically increase. At this situation, at this time, the Britishers they decided to remove the influence of these local merchants. They decided these local merchants they are controlling the entire trade in India. So they wanted to remove these peoples who were local traders should be removed from the arena so that they can monopolize the trade. So at first they think that to remove it by any means, to remove these local merchants from this arena. So local merchants they control the trade. The Britishers they decided to remove them from that power or this influence in the trade. Next, later Britishers they monopolized by their mercantile policy and other policies. They totally monopolized or totally controlled the trade. Britishers totally controlled the trade. And later on what happens, you know that many port centers, earlier port centers were Surat and Hooghly were the port centers. When the Britishers they came to India, that time they understood that the early port centers were Surat and Hooghly. This Surat and Hooghly were the port centers, and so many local merchants they are living in this Surat and Hooghly. Who are living? The local merchants. They are living near Surat and Hooghly. That was port centers. These port centers they had great importance because all these ships they comes to this port. From that port they collect all these materials or goods. All these materials or goods they collected from this port. From these ports. From these ports they collected all these materials that had great demand in European market. They make it as finished product and they sell in the colony itself. That was the earlier type. So local merchants, they are controlling this Surat as well as Hooghly. The local merchants, they are controlling this Surat and the Hooghly, because they, through local merchants only, the Europeans will get that raw material. So that this was the situation. So Britishers decided to remove these local traders to monopolize that power in India itself. So later on the Europeans, especially the Britishers, they said that our ship only loaded the raw materials. Other ships like Portuguese, Dutch, their ships were considered as enemies by the Britishers, and they asked only you have to make only trade relations with Britain only, so that all these raw materials will be loaded in the British ship only. They asked these local merchants to load these kinds of things. So that their idea was to make trade relations with only Britain only. Other countries, they are trying for collecting the raw materials. That was against the wishes of the Britishers. So this was the situation, and you know that later on what happened, Hooghly and you can see that Hooghly, the power that lost in Hooghly. So that next Bombay and Calcutta become the new ports. The Bombay, Calcutta, that become the new ports. The earlier ports that lost is Surat and Hooghly. This Surat and Hooghly, that were the early port centers that declined. Later on, this importance of this Surat and Hooghly declined. So Britishers, they decided to establish new seaports. So that they established new seaports at Bombay and Calcutta, so that the Europeans, they comes to this Bombay and Calcutta through the Britishers monopolized that trade, and people all they will comes to the Bombay and Calcutta only. At the same time that Surat and Hooghly that totally declines, Europeans are not reaching to this Surat and Hooghly. So local traders, they started that business in this. Surat and Hooghly. They lost their influence. So many, even bank had given loans to these people. So almost all this money they collected from the bank, especially the local traders. They collect money from the banks. So the bank that was in crisis because they had given huge amounts to these local merchants for the trade. Earlier the merchants will return that money because they will get a huge profit. Now the things goes in a wrong situation. At that time, that is Hooghly and Surat, many local merchants, they were indebted money. They can't repay the money because European sailors are not coming to Hooghly and the Hooghly and Surat. So that the position of these port cities like Surat and Hooghly lost its importance, and new seaports that was emerged, that was Bombay and Calcutta, the new seaports that was established by the Britishers, and they totally monopolized these Bombay and Calcutta. European ships, they carried the raw materials from these ports. European ships, they controlled and they carried goods from these ports like Bombay and Calcutta. They carried this from that, they collected and carried these goods. Next, weavers and their problems. You know that during this time, there was a severe problem faced by the Europeans. Who faced the severe problems? The Europeans, they faced the severe problems. Who faced the severe problems? The Europeans, they faced the severe problems because they understood that merchants, they are handling power, so they want to remove these local merchants. Later on, you know that the weavers, they faced the problems. Which are the problems faced by the weavers? You know that in ancient time onwards, Indian weaving materials or Indian handlooms are great demand all over Europe. Indian kalamkari designs, Indian embroidery designs, these kinds of muslin, Dhaka that produced the muslin, and Kashmir shawls. Kashmir shawls, then you know that Kalamkari sari, Kalamkari design in Andhra Pradesh. That these kinds of things are a great demand in European market. So weaving, stitching, this embroidery work, handicrafts works are a great demand in European market because they like these kinds of clothes and these kinds of designs. So many people, European countries were attracted towards India due to this handloom and weaving industries. In India, many handlooms are there. Many peoples they are mainly depending on handlooms. They through their hands only. They not machine made. They mainly depends on these handloom industries. But later on what happens, these handloom industries that collapsed, why these handloom industries collapsed? The main reason behind is that the handloom industry collapsed due to the invention of the machines. When machine made goods that are produced, the cheap materials or the cheap items or even the cheap finished products, the machine made goods produced cheap finished products. At the same time, handloom products they are very costly, so that people will be preferred to machine made goods rather than the handloom industry, rather than depending on handloom industry. But the Europeans market, these handlooms products are in great demand. But at the same time, in India, they were facing a severe problems. The handloom weavers, they were facing severe problems. They cannot survive in the society because the machine-made goods produce large amount of goods, finished products at a low price. So that people are in search of this low price, and this handloom industry collapsed due to the advent of the Britishers. No doubt at all, due to the advent of the Britishers only, the handloom industry collapsed. Due to the establishment of many machines in India, or many mechanized industries, that development of mechanized industries that led to the ruin and the decline of this handloom industry. I hope that you understood about the problems of this. Handloom workers, many handloom workers, they committed suicide. So many people deserted the place. Some people they will go to the cities and they migrated there. So they faced a lot of problems. So handloom workers, handloom weaving, that was a severe. They had a severe threat by this machine-made goods. Then you know that the Britishers they consider certain problems in India. Their major problems they faced by the Britishers, that was that you know that the competition. You know that not only the Britishers, even Portugal and Dutch, they tie up relations with the Indian rulers, Indian kings. So that the Britishers understood that to remove these other foreign influences, to remove other foreign influences, then only they can make good trade relations with the Indians, so that there will be a smooth running of the business of the Britishers. There will be a good connection between the Britishers, then only they can survive in India. Otherwise, that Dutch and the Portuguese, they are much influence with the local rulers, so that their power may lose. They will be wiped out. The Britishers will be wiped out due to the influence of the Portuguese and the Dutch. They came to know that, so that they consider these European other foreign influences are considered as enemies for them. They want to remove these other foreign influences rather than only the Britishers. They want only survive here. Other foreign influences they want to remove from our country. So there will be a tough competition. There will be a perfect competition. There will be a tough competition between the Britishers, Dutch and the Portuguese. For what purpose? To survive in India, to establish their power in India, to make trade relations with India. So there will be a competition, tough competition, or a perfect competition, or a tough competition that held in India. that happened in India due to the competition, severe competition. The Portuguese they were struggling to live in India. At the same time, the Dutch also they want to establish their supremacy in India. At the same time, Britishers also they want to establish their paramountcy or supreme power in India. So these enemies, these European countries, they were fighting for their paramountcy or the supreme power in India. At last, British become successful in establishing their paramountcy in India. Other powers they were defeated by the Britishers. So next is that control the coast, because you know that actually the Dutch, Portuguese and other Europeans they make a trade relations in India, so that automatically the price of these goods increased. When this price of these goods increased, so Britishers they faced this was a problem. So they want to control the coast. Who want to control the Britishers? They decided to control the coast by any means to control the coast. By controlling the coast only, they can survive in India. Otherwise, if the price is very high, they cannot survive in India. They cannot collect the raw materials at a cheap rate. If price is high, because if they want, if these Britishers will not purchase raw materials from India, Portuguese and Dutch will purchase at a high cost. So, to struggle with these European powers, one thing, to control the price, that this was another task of the Britishers. Britishers, another task was to control the cost in India. Next is the supply of these goods. You know that in the supply that was controlled, not only controlled by the Britishers, but Dutch and Portuguese, Portuguese and the Dutch also controlled the supply of these goods. Which goods? These raw materials like cotton, silk. These cotton, silk and other items. These other goods that was controlled by Dutch, Portuguese and other French as well as these Europeans. They are controlling. They are the supply of these goods they are controlling. So the Britishers they decided only these Britishers can get power and to control the supply of goods like cotton and silk. The Britishers came to know about this. I hope that you understood. This was the situation in this time. So Britishers they want to make a perfect competition with Portugal and Dutch and to remove this Portuguese and Dutch from our country and to establish a trade monopoly in India. Next Britishers they want to control the cost of these goods. Next Britishers they want to supply of these goods. The cotton and silk the supply should be that will be controlled by they want to control the supply of the goods. I hope that you understood it very much. Next we want to study which are the steps that have been done by the Britishers. Britishers they decided to, in order to control all the situation, to monopolize India, to make a control over the trade in India, they would do certain things. First of all, we want to know that British they did many steps. First one, direct control over the weaver. You know that the weavers they had tied up relations with not only these European, not only these Britishers, but also they make relations with the Jamindars, relations with the local traders, relations with Portuguese and the Dutch, even French also. So that Britishers understood that we want to control these traders. We want to control the traders. Do direct control over the weaver. We want to control direct control over the weaver. We had influence over these weavers. If we have influence over the weavers only, we can survive here, because weavers they are producing these cotton and other materials. If we had a good relations with the weaver, so that what we can do, we can make a trade relations with the weaver and can collect definitely can collect the raw materials from the weaver rather than the trader. So they want to avoid the trader. Local traders, they want to avoid the local traders and to depend on these weavers, directly the weavers. That was the idea of the Britishers, to make a direct contact with the weaver rather than this local traders. So that the local traders, that their influence can be removed. So that was the idea of the first idea of the British. Next, they decided to control other buyers also, because other buyers like Portuguese, Dutch, French, they were other buyers. So the Britishers, they decided to control over the other buyers, Portuguese, Dutch, French. They want to control the other buyers. Why Britishers want to control the other buyers? If they did not control the other buyers will influence India, and the importance of the Britishers may lose. Britishers, they had a good idea. They understood that if we lose the influence over the local traders and the rulers, what will happen is that at last they will remove them from trade, so that the Portuguese, Dutch and the French will be established their trade monopoly in India. So in order to avoid that situation, Britishers, they decided to control the other buyers, to regulate or control the other buyers, so that they can exist in India, they can monopolize trade in India. Next, you know that the weavers, they make agreement with these jamindars. Not only jamindars, other than this, they make agreement with these local traders. Even the Britishers also, they make agreement. Why? Because they borrow money from these people. Especially Britishers, they were given advance money. Britishers, they give advance money. They gave advance money to these farmers. They gave advance monies to the farmers. Poor peasants or farmers, they did not understand why they are giving advance money to the weavers. So they buy, these poor peasants, they borrow money, they advance money they collected. At last what happens, they had to make agreement with the Britishers. Britishers forced them to cultivate these crops. Britishers forced them, these exploited the peasants to cultivate these crops. In this time, the slave system also existed. Slave owners, you know that there's many Britishers, what they did is that they goes to plantation, for plantations, especially cotton and other these kinds of plantations, cotton, jute, etc. For this plantation, these workers are very less. What they did is that from many colonies, they collect these workers from that many colonies, and for these workers were make us slaves and ask them to do works in the plantations. Ask these people to do work in the plantation. So many peoples were from Africa and many other countries. These peoples were they took these peoples from these African and other countries, and these peoples were utilized as plantation workers and considered as slaves, because they had to work in the plantation and they won't get money at all. They won't get money at all. They want to work very hard for their masters. That is system. Slave system also existed due to this expansion of these plantation crops in different colonies. That also existed. That you never forget this matter also. So weavers, they engaged in this work. Which work? Weavers, they engaged in these kinds of plantation crops like cotton, jute, etc., indigo and other cultivations. That time what happened, you know that they engaged in these plantations. They were forced to do the agreement. Once they collect the money from the Britishers, they can't repay it in time. If they fail to repay it in time, that time they were asked to do work in the factories. They were asked to do work in the factories. They were asked to do work in the factories. Who were asked to do the work in factories? These workers or these peasants were asked to do work in the factory. So that you know that these kinds of system that existed, so that they were forced to do these kinds of works. Who were forced to do these kinds of work? The peasants or the poor farmers were asked to do work in these kinds of things. They were exploited. Poor peasants, they were exploited. So this was the system that existed in India. You know, the Britishers did all these kinds of things. And moreover, these sometimes from they borrow money, or sometimes they took advance. They cannot repay the money, so they were asked to do these kinds of work. Sometimes they may be engaged in this weaving work, or embroidery work, or stitching work. They were asked to do such work. Suppose if they were doing that these cottage industries, if they were engaged in these kinds of cottage industries, they cannot finish in the correct time. For the delay, what the British did, they punished the Britishers. They punished those who delay the work. Those who delay the work, that people were punished by the Britishers. Those who delay the work, they were punished by the Britishers. Severe punishment were given. They will be beaten also. They will be beaten. So if they fail to give it in time, definitely they will get to beat also. They will be punished. So they will be punished. No, such a situation also happened. Such a situation also happened in this in India. So that you know, I hope that you understood all these things. Once again, I want to revise all these things. You know, here, you know that Europeans, they came to India only for trade. Later, they monopolized the trade over India. They monopolized or they later monopoly over our trade. So then later on what happens? The local merchants in India had great influence because they are doing the business. So that controlled by these local merchants, Britishers they decided to remove the influence of these local merchants. Next, Britishers later on they monopolized the trade and they controlled the trade of India due to several policies. Next, the Surat and Hooghly, the port cities like Surat and Hooghly, that declined. Why the Surat and Hooghly declined? Because Surat and Hooghly were the early port centers. The power of Surat and Hooghly that lost its importance. Instead of this importance of Surat and Hooghly, that goes to Bombay and Calcutta. Bombay and Calcutta, that were the new port centers. So, new port centers, which are the new port centers that was established by the Britishers? The new port centers that was established by the Britishers, that was Bombay and Calcutta. Bombay and Calcutta, that was established by the Britishers as new port centers. So that lost these Surat and Hooghly, the power of Surat and Hooghly lost. So many local traders, they lost the influence and they borrowed money from the bank, a local bank. So this bank they can't repay in time due to the decline of the importance of Surat and Hooghly. I hope that you understood how the power of Surat and Hooghly. The new port centers were established in Bombay and Calcutta. And Bombay and Calcutta, new port centers that was established. So Europeans, especially the Britishers, they controlled the ship due to mercantile policy. They controlled these ships also. They said that Indians only make trade relations with Britain only, and British ships only carry the goods rather than other ships. Other ships no need to carry the goods. They considered other ships as other foreign influence as their enemies. They want only one foreign influence, that is nothing but the Britain. They want to influence our country. They want to make trade relations with our country. So that was their policy. So European ships that was totally controlled in this time. Then weavers and their roles. What happened to the weavers? Weavers, you know that initially time onwards, weavers they engaged in the handicrafts, handloom and other sections. That cottage industries, they mainly focus on the cottage industries. Traditionally they learned, traditionally they know about these kinds of work. From parents onwards they did these kinds of works. Anyhow they managed to live with these kinds of handicrafts and handloom industries. But their importance lost when the Britishers introduced machine-made goods. That time handlooms industries that power lost. Now what happens? The handloom industry that collapsed. Many handloom workers committed suicide. Some people will be deserted from this area, so that there will be a severe problems that happened among the people of these handloom workers. Handloom was in a critical stage. Later on, handloom industry collapsed. Handloom industry collapsed. So weavers, these are the problems related to weavers. Moreover, indigo, you know that indigo that was cultivated in India, forced by the Britishers to cultivate indigo. But all of a sudden the price of this indigo goes down. Moreover, once we cultivated the indigo, we cannot cultivate it again. Why? Because the fertility of the soil may lose. People they starved. Even Bengal, you know that famine occurred due to these conditions. Due to this condition only, Bengal famine occurred. So that people they did not get sufficient food items because food crops that collapsed due to the advent of the Britishers. Britishers asked only to do these commercial crops because they want only raw materials. But the people will eat, they are not bothered about these things. So they only concentrated their own interest. So there will be a perfect competition that happened in India among these Europeans like Portuguese, Dutch, Britishers, etc. So Britishers at last gained among this competition. Britishers win in this competition. Next is controlling the cost. You know that cost the control cost price of the goods that is increasing day by day. Why? Because the Dutch, Portuguese, Dutch and other French, these peoples they collected these raw materials at a higher rate. When the price of these goods increased, the Britishers understood that this situation that will be against their wishes, so they want to control the price in India. Next, you know that supply of these goods. You know that supply of these goods that was controlled, not only controlled by the Britishers, other than this Portuguese and Dutch also controlled these prices. So Britishers they decided to control the supply of these goods, cotton and silk. The control of this cotton and silks that will be in the hands of the Britishers. They decided like that, so that other foreign influences were removed. Other foreign influences were removed and only the power has given to these Britishers only. Britishers they want to monopolize the total trade of India. They want to control the total trade in India. Other forces they considered as enemies and they fought many wars with these French, Dutch, etc. French, Dutch, Portuguese, etc. They fought in India and other countries also. They fought against these Europeans because they understood that for the survival of this country, local support of the support from the people of India is necessary. So that they decided to remove other influences. Otherwise, what will happen? Other influences make good relations with India, so that they may remove these Britishers. They feared that Britishers will be removed from the arena, so that they decided to make a control over our state. I hope that you understood this much. Next, British, which are the steps later on British what they did, which are the steps that were did by the Britishers. The Britishers they did many steps like direct control over the weaver. They directly control over the weavers. They decided to control over the weavers. Weavers they have a trade relation with the local merchants. To avoid these local merchants, to make a direct contact with the weavers, so that they can buy the raw materials. Next, you know that that weavers engaged in all family, even weaving that all family members are engaged. Once they once they sign the agreement, these family members also forced to do these kinds of weaving. If they fail to do in time, if they fail to do these kinds of works in time, Britishers they severely punished. They severely punished for the delay, and sometimes they had given beating to the Britishers. I hope that you understood it very much. I am going to conclude my words. So listen that in this lesson we discussed that how the Britishers came to India, what was their aims. Later on what they did, how they established their power in India, how they become the masters of our land, how they monopolized trade in India, how they removed other foreign influences. All these things I hope that you understood. And what are the problems that faced by weavers? What happens to the weavers? What happens to the weavers? And what are the problems faced by weavers? How weaving industry and weavers or this cottage industry in India or these kinds of handloom industry that collapsed in India, that I already explained. I hope that you understood all these things very well, so that the next class we will continue next class the age of industrialization. Thank you children.